fasten your seatbelt. But before you do, stay in seat 32A for just a moment longer. Because what you're looking at through that window is not just a city. It's a living atlas of 1,500 years of history, of glory, destruction, resurrection, and everything in between. We're descending into Kyiv, and trust me, the view from up here tells you everything. Act 1. What you see from the sky. At 5,000 feet, the first thing that catches your eye is not a skyline in the traditional sense. Kyiv doesn't rise from a flat plain like Paris or Berlin. It erupts from a series of dramatic hills on the right bank of a vast silver river, the Dnipro, one of the longest rivers in Europe, and on the left bank, flat as a table, wetlands, suburbs, quiet roads. This divide, high dramatic cliffs on one side, open floodplains on the other, is the city's first secret. It shaped everything. Who built here? Who attacked here? Who survived here? At 3,000 feet, you start to see the gold. Dozens of domes, some blazing gold, some a deep forest green, piercing through the tree canopy. This is one of the most forested capital cities in Europe. From up here, you don't see buildings between the trees. You see trees between the buildings. And then, unmistakable at any altitude, a 102-meter steel woman, sword raised, shield in hand, staring east toward the horizon. That's the Motherland Monument. She's been watching over this city since 1981. We'll get to her, but first, let's go back, way back. Act 2. The Legend of the Founders. It's the 5th or 6th century AD. 3 brothers and a sister settle on 3 separate hills above the Dnipro River. The eldest is named Kyiv. His siblings, Shchek, Koriv, and their sister Libid. Each builds a settlement on their own hill. Each builds their own walls. And slowly, inevitably, the 3 settlements grow toward each other and merge. The city is named after the eldest brother, Kyiv, the city of Kyiv. This story comes from the Primary Chronicle, a 12th century document written by a monk named Nestor inside the underground tunnels of the Kyiv Monastery of the Caves. Here's the twist. Nestor himself is still in those tunnels. He lived there. He wrote there. He died there. And due to the unique properties of the soil and air in those caves, he was naturally mummified. Today, visitors can walk past his remains by candlelight in corridors barely wide enough for 2 people to pass. The man who wrote the city's origin story is part of the city's underground. That's Kyiv in a nutshell. Oh, and those 3 hills, Kyiv, Shchek, and Koriv settled on, Shchekovitsia Hill and Korovitsia Hill, still carry their names today. The legend is written into the geography itself. Some historians believe the name Kyiv actually comes from a Turkic word, meaning riverbank, and that the 3 brothers were invented later to explain a forgotten place name. That's a very reasonable academic theory. It's also much less interesting. So let's move on. Act 3. The Golden Age, 9th to 12th century. The year is 988 AD. Grand Prince Vladimir of Kyiv, a man history remembers, delicately, as an immense fornicator, has just had what we might call a change of heart. He's been shopping for a new religion. He sent envoys to observe Islam, Judaism, Western Christianity, and Byzantine Orthodox Christianity. The envoys came back with one verdict. The ceremony in Constantinople's Hagia Sophia was unlike anything they had ever seen. We did not know whether we were in heaven or on earth, they reportedly said. That was enough for Vladimir. He was baptized at Chersonesus in Crimea took a Byzantine princess as his wife, returned to Kyiv, and promptly ordered every pagan idol in the city thrown into the Dnipro River. Then he called all of Kyiv's citizens to the river, all of them. And in a single mass ceremony, thousands of people were baptized in the waters of the Dnipro. The priests stood in the river. The people stood with them. Whether everyone came willingly, the chronicles are diplomatically vague on this point. This moment changed Eastern Europe forever. Kyiv became the northern gateway of the Byzantine world, the second center of Orthodox Christianity, the city that would eventually give its spiritual inheritance to hundreds of millions of people across
Vladimir
Russia,
himself,
Ukraine, Belarus, the same sources
Serbia,
that called him
Bulgaria,
an immense fornicator
and beyond,
now called him the beautiful son. He opened prisons, he fed the poor, he sent food to the sick who couldn't come to his table. History loves a redemption arc. Under his son, Yaroslav the Wise, who ruled from 1019 to 1054, Kyiv became one of the largest cities in the known world. While London, Hamburg, and Gdansk each had populations of around 20,000, Kyiv had more than 50,000 residents, 400 churches, 8 markets, diplomatic relations with France, England, Sweden, Norway, Hungary. Yaroslav married his daughters to the kings of France, Norway, and Hungary. He built St. Sophia Cathedral, deliberately named after and designed to rival the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, as if to say, "We are not a province of Byzantium. We are its equal." That cathedral still stands. Inside, 11th century mosaics and frescoes have never been repainted. The colors are original, 1,000 years old and still glowing. Act 4, The First Death, 1240. In the autumn of 1240, everything ended. Batu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, arrived with the full force of the Mongol army. A Polish envoy who visited Kyiv shortly after the conquest wrote these words: "We found an innumerable multitude of skulls and bones of dead men lying upon the field. It had been a very large and thickly populated town. Now it has been reduced to almost nothing. 50,000 people, down to a few thousand in weeks. The Golden Gate, the ancient entrance to the city, was shattered. Churches were destroyed. The streets, by all accounts, were lined with bones." Kyiv, the heart of Eastern Europe, was, for all practical purposes, erased. But Kyiv did not die. This is a pattern you'll notice. Act 5, Centuries of Hands. For the next 5 centuries, Kyiv passed through many hands: Lithuanian dukes, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Cossack hetmans, Russian czars. In the 17th century, Hetman Bohdan Khmelnytsky led a Cossack uprising that made Kyiv, once again, the symbol of Ukrainian identity. His alliance with Moscow, sealed in 1654, was meant to be an equal partnership. It was not. By the 19th century, Kyiv was a provincial city of the Russian Empire. The Ukrainian language was officially suppressed. Publishing in Ukrainian was banned. The city was called Kyiv, the Russian spelling. It would take 3 more centuries before the city reclaimed its own name. Act 6, The Darkest Page, 1941. On September 19th, 1941, Nazi Germany occupied Kyiv. 8 days later, posters appeared across the city. All Jewish residents were ordered to report for relocation. 33,771 people arrived at the assembly point. They were marched to a ravine on the edge of the city called Babi Yar. In 2 days, September 29th and 30th, 1941, they were all shot. It was the largest single massacre of the Holocaust. By the end of the war, more than 100,000 people Jews, Roma, Ukrainians, Soviet POWs had been killed at Babi Yar. For decades under Soviet rule, this was not officially acknowledged. A monument exists there today. Kyiv was liberated by the Red Army in November 1943. The city that emerged from the war was a skeleton of what it had been. It rebuilt itself. Again. Act 7. The Monuments. St. Sophia Cathedral, built by Yaroslav the Wise in 1037 as a deliberate rival to the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople. The name is the same, Sophia, meaning divine wisdom. The message was unmistakable. Kyiv is not a satellite of Byzantium. It is a civilization of its own. Inside, the original 11th century mosaics have never been repainted. What you see is what the builders saw. A UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Kyiv-Pechursk Lavra, Monastery of the Caves. In 1051, a monk named Anthony retreated into a cave in the hills above the Dnipro River. Others followed. The caves expanded. Corridors were carved. Underground chapels were built. A printing press was installed. A community of hundreds grew. Today, the catacombs are a labyrinth of stone corridors barely 1.5 meters wide. Inside glass cases along the walls lie the naturally mummified remains of medieval monks and saints, hands folded, faces covered, draped in gold-embroidered cloth. You can walk among them by candlelight. One of those remains belongs to Nestor the chronicler, the monk who wrote the very story of Kyiv's founding. He is buried in the story he told. Foreign travelers in the 16th and 17th centuries wrote that the catacombs stretched for hundreds of kilometers, all the way to Moscow and Novgorod. This is almost certainly an exaggeration, but for a place of prayer carved by hand into a hillside 1,000 years ago, even the truth is extraordinary enough. The Kyiv cake. In 1956, at the Karl Marx confectionery factory, a worker forgot to refrigerate a batch of egg whites overnight. Rather than throw them away the next morning, she covered the mistake with cream and sold it. The result, crisp meringue layers with hazelnut cream, became the most famous dessert in Soviet Ukraine. For decades, every visitor to Kyiv brought one home in a pink box. Some people flew to Kyiv specifically to buy one. This is either a beautiful story of accidental genius or the most successful cover-up in pastry history. The city that keeps coming back. Kyiv has been destroyed, occupied, or nearly erased at least 7 times in recorded history. The Mongols, the Lithuanians, the Poles, the Swedes, the Tsars, the Nazis, the Soviets, and every single time, it came back. This is not coincidence. This is geography and stubbornness in equal measure. The Dnipro River made this city inevitable. Trade routes between Scandinavia and Constantinople had to pass through here. Conquerors didn't erase Kyiv. They moved in. Because a city this well-placed cannot be left empty. And so, generation after generation, Kyiv asked itself, what does it mean to be Kyiv? It has been a Rus principality, a Lithuanian province, a Cossack stronghold, an Imperial Russian city, a Soviet capital, and, finally, on its own terms, the beating heart of an independent Ukraine. Each time it lost something, each time it kept going. Closing. Back to seat 32A. The plane is climbing now. You're back in seat 32A. You press your face to the glass one more time. Below, Kyiv is shrinking. The gold domes catching the last of the light, the silver ribbon of the Dnipro curving south, the steel figure still standing on the hill, sword raised, facing east. 1,500 years of history in one frame. Mongols, Nazis, Soviets, and still here. Maybe cities are like people. They don't die, they just transform. Goodbye, Kyiv.